Far along the rocky coastline of Maine, where waves crash endlessly against granite cliffs, a lighthouse stands tall, its beacon ever vigilant. It is the year 1887. Inside this tall white tower lives a solitary figure, the lighthouse keeper. He is already awake, long before the sun rises. In a small wooden room, attached to the lighthouse by a narrow corridor, he sits beside the stove. The air is cold, damp, and quiet. The only sound is the rhythmic roar of the ocean below. His name is Samuel Carver, a man of 60, with a thick beard and hands roughened by salt and time. He has been the keeper of Bracken Head Light for nearly 20 years. Each morning begins the same way. He stirs a pot of water and adds ground coffee from a small tin. No sugar, no milk, just strong, bitter warmth. He pulls on his heavy wool sweater, thick socks, and oilskin coat. The air smells of sea and smoke. Before breakfast, his first duty, check the lamp. He climbs the spiral staircase slowly. The cast-iron steps creak beneath his boots. The walls grow colder as he nears the top. At the lantern room high above the sea, he opens the small iron door. The Fresnel lens gleams in the dim grey light of dawn. It has been burning all night. He trims the wick, checks the oil level in the lamp, polishes the glass with a soft rag. This light must never fail. Not even once. Down below, the horizon is beginning to glow a soft peach pink. Gulls cry overhead. A distant ship passes, tiny and black against the sky. Samuel watches, sips his coffee, and begins another day. Back down the spiral staircase, Samuel moves through the quiet kitchen of the keeper's quarters, a small wooden cottage built against the side of the tower. It smells of salt, stove smoke, and old pine boards. He opens the narrow cupboard and pulls out a tin of oats, a ceramic jar of molasses, and a few dried apples wrapped in cloth. Supplies are brought by boat once a month, if the weather allows. So everything is rationed, measured, and respected. The stove crackles gently as the pot simmers. The window beside the table rattles with a gust of sea wind. Outside, waves hit the rocks with patient force. He eats slowly. Oatmeal with molasses and a single slice of brown bread. He pours a second cup of coffee, worn fingers cupped around the warmth. He stares out the window, watching the sea spray lift like ghosts above the tide. Sometimes he sees seals on the rocks. Other times, nothing but endless grey water and sky. After breakfast, Samuel writes in logbook, every morning, every evening, without fail. He records the time, the weather, the oil level, the tide, and any ships that pass. March 5, 1887. Weather, overcast. Wind W, 15 knots. Oil lamp trimmed. Ship sighted, schooner eastbound. 6:42 a.m. The ink smells sharp and familiar. His handwriting is steady and simple. These pages are a history no one else will read, yet they matter. They prove the light was watched, that someone was always here. The sun has risen higher now, casting pale golden light across the sea. The day is still young, but there is much to do. The lighthouse beacon does not burn without care. It must be cleaned, adjusted, and protected. After a quick check of the shoreline, Samuel climbs once again up the narrow spiral stairs. 52 steps to the lantern room. At the top, the Fresnel lens stands like a jewel. Its concentric glass rings magnify and cast the flame into a brilliant beam visible for miles. Samuel carefully removes the chimney glass, blackened slightly by the night's burning. He cleans it with vinegar and cloth, wiping until the glass is crystal clear. He turns the brass knobs, checks the clockwork. The great lens must rotate smoothly. It runs on a weight and pulley mechanism that needs winding every 4 hours. He grips the handle of the winding gear and turns. Slowly. The chain rattles as the counterweight rises from the base of the tower. Once wound, the lens will spin on its own. There is a comfort in routine, in knowing every part by touch. He whispers to himself sometimes, not out of madness, but out of rhythm. The sun shines now through the glass windows of the lantern room, throwing rainbows across the floor. Down below, the sea crashes. But up here, in the lantern room, it feels like the top of the world. With the light cleaned and wound, and the morning duties completed, Samuel steps outside. The wind greets him immediately, cool and strong, carrying with it the smell of brine and wet stone. The sound of waves echoes through the rocky cliffs in rhythmic, endless conversation. It is low tide now. He walks the narrow stone path that winds around the base of the lighthouse. His oilskin coat flaps gently as he walks. The sea foam dances at the edges of the rocks. Down below, the supply dock lies empty, just a wooden platform lashed with rope and iron. No deliveries today, perhaps not for another week. The air is filled with sounds, gulls crying, wind humming, waves striking the rocks with soft explosions. He kneels by the edge of the rocks, peering into tide pools that form in the cracks and dips. Tiny fish dart among seaweed ribbons. Mussels cling to stone. A crab shuffles under a piece of driftwood. There is no one here but Samuel. And yet, he never feels. Alone. Each splash and gust and whisper of wind speaks of time without end. He returns to the path, climbs the steps slowly, and pauses by the fog bell tower. A smaller structure, steel and wood, perched on a stone foundation. When the fog rolls in, the bell must ring every 15 seconds. He checks the mechanism, turns the winch, ensures the hammer strikes true. No fog today, but the keeper is always ready. By midday, the sky begins to cloud. Wisps of grey drift over the horizon, trailing across the pale blue like threads of old cloth. Inside, the keeper eats a quiet lunch, a slice of cheese, pickled beans, and hard biscuits softened in warm tea. The cottage is silent, but for the ticking of a wall clock and the occasional creak of old wood. After eating, Samuel takes a few moments to sit in his chair beside the window. He leans back slightly, hands resting on the arms. He watches the gulls circling the rocks, watches the rhythm of the sea. Then, as always, there is more work to do. He gathers a small wooden toolbox and heads for the boathouse, a low stone structure near the edge of the cove. Its roof is weathered, its door hangs slightly crooked. Inside, tools line the wall, well oiled and neatly arranged. He selects a brush, a bucket, and a tin of red lead paint. The lighthouse tower must be repainted in places to prevent rust and rot, every year. Sometimes more. He walks to the seaward side, where the salt spray hits hardest, and begins to paint the iron railings along the stairs. Brushstroke after brushstroke. Red over rust. A careful hand. Slow. The sky darkens slightly as he works. By late afternoon, the wind has shifted. The waves roll higher now, striking the rocks with sharper bursts of spray. Samuel stands near the edge of the cliff, eyes scanning the horizon. He smells rain on the air. The clouds are thicker, darker now, layered like bruises on the sky. A storm is coming. He does not panic. This is the life he knows. He tightens the shutters on the cottage windows, checks the rope lashings on the fog bell, ensures that the boathouse door is secured with iron hooks. The sea begins to roar. Back inside, he climbs the stairs one more time to the lantern room. The wind howls faintly through the glass panes. The lighthouse shudders ever so slightly with each blast of wind. The flame is steady, protected by the lens. He adds more oil to the reservoir, checks the wick once more, and winds the lens for another rotation. Down below, the sky darkens further, and the first drops of rain spatter against the glass. The wind rises, like a living thing moaning across the sea. As lightning flashes in the distance, Samuel lights a few lamps within the cottage. Their warm glow reflects off the wooden walls, flickering like fireflies. He prepares a pot of stew, salt pork, potatoes and onion, and lets it simmer on the stove as thunder begins to roll. The storm lasts hours. The lighthouse stands firm. The keeper watches, waits, listens. By the time the storm fades, the sky has turned to deep violet. The rain slows, then stops. The wind softens into a hush. Samuel steps outside. The world is soaked, fresh and glistening. Pools of water reflect the golden glow from the lantern room above. The sea is darker now, almost black, and the horizon is swallowed by mist. He walks slowly along the path that circles the lighthouse. His boots splash through puddles. A gull cries somewhere far off. Up above, the lighthouse continues to spin, its light slicing rhythmically across the water, turning once every 30 seconds. That constant, trusted beacon. Back inside, the keeper lights one more lamp and settles into his wooden chair by the hearth. The fire crackles softly. On a small table beside him sits the evening logbook. He writes, March 5, 1887, evening entry. Gale past. Light remains active. No vessels sighted since storm. He dips the pen back into the inkwell, then closes the book. His supper is simple, a leftover bowl of stew, warmed gently, and a small heel of bread. He eats slowly, savoring the silence, the sound of rain dripping from the eaves, the deep hum of the sea beyond. Later, as he rinses his bowl in cold water from the hand pump, he pauses at the window. The stars are beginning to return. A deep, cold stillness settles over the point. It feels ancient, undisturbed, sacred. Night has taken hold. The sea is quiet now, just a low and constant breath beyond the cliffs. The fog rolls in again, slow and soft, like wool gathering around the tower. Inside, the oil lamp in the lantern room continues to turn. Every 30 seconds, its golden beam slices the darkness, sweeping across the waves like a lullaby to distant sailors. Downstairs, the keeper prepares for bed. He removes his heavy coat and folds it over a hook by the door. He washes his face in a porcelain basin with cold water from the pump. His hands, calloused and strong, tremble slightly in the stillness. He lights a small bedside candle, its flame flickering gently. His room is simple: a narrow wooden bed, a chest for clothes, a shelf for books. A small cross hangs on the wall above the headboard, carved from driftwood. He climbs under a thick wool blanket and lies still, hands folded over his chest. The candle glows beside him. Wind taps softly on the window pane. Before he closes his eyes, he listens. He listens to the creak of the tower, to the distant bell clanging once in the mist, to the heartbeat of the ocean, forever present. He smiles faintly. Another day has passed, and the light has never gone out. And so, as the stars stretch wide above the sea, and the lighthouse continues its sacred rhythm, the keeper falls into sleep, not hurried, not troubled, just quiet, at peace. And now, dear listener, we leave the windswept cliffs of Maine behind. We leave the spiral stairs, the sea-soaked stones, the quiet cottage warmed by firelight. We leave behind the keeper, sleeping soundly beneath a wool blanket, while the lantern turns gently above him. The lighthouse stands as it always has, weathered and strong. Its light sweeps across the night, calling softly to ships beyond the horizon. It does not shout, it does not flare. It simply shines, every 30 seconds, every single night, just as it did yesterday, just as it will tomorrow. In a world filled with noise, it is the rhythm of calm. In the wild wind and rushing tide, it remains, a still, glowing heart by the sea. And in that steady rhythm, there is something deeply human, a promise kept, a duty fulfilled, a life of quiet purpose. And now, perhaps you too feel the hush of the ocean air, the warmth of lamplight, the peace of routine. Let your breath slow, let your breath slow. Your thoughts drift like mist beyond the waves. The day is done, the light is kept, and you, dear listener, you are safe. Good night.